Rigetti stock is one of the quantum computing companies that has been moving very quickly in this recent volatility, especially what's going on with AI. We start to see them get more traction as a quantum computing company. What's going on with them today? We see them down about 5.7%, along with a lot of the other quantum companies like QBTS is down 4%. You have IonQ is down 4%. What we're seeing here is I think we have some charts available that we've drawn here in the past. Let's see. All right, that's what we're looking at. So overall market cap, we started covering them back here around $1 a share back before 2025 in November. Then in 2025, by January, they had surged to $21.50. We did see some more momentum and more technology being developed in quantum that actually had a pretty good outlook. And part of this crash right here was because of the NVIDIA CEO comments about quantum computing being 15 years away, even though right after that, so January, it crashed. When that announcement came out at CES, we went to go to that event directly to see what was going on, see what the quantum technology looked like. And what we found was that when that announcement was made, shortly after NVIDIA announced their quantum program, and still NVIDIA being one of the main companies backing many of these quantum computing companies. So when we started to see this consolidation take place, it's been since April that started to continue this uptrend. We started to see it push back up. It's now in this trend, and we've seen it start to make its way up into these levels of around $11 a share. And one thing to note is that it has been kind of getting rejected. There's this greater level here that's this previous support. It's a rising support. So when we see these levels start to act as a support, the previous support as a resistance, that is why we're starting to see it get rejected. So it's pushing up. This previous support is acting as a resistance. It's getting rejected. And as you can see, when we're very bullish, so if we take the charts away, when we are bullish, why this green line stays below, that's normally this 200-day moving average acting as a support. See that support level through those last few months. So it was bullish, recently crossed below. You see this, it crossed below, and it's starting to maybe try and stay above, but a little bit of a rejection there today. So if we take a look at that EMA, that 15-day moving average exponentially, you can see it's acting as a support in a bullish environment, and that blue line, that EMA, acting as a resistance right now. So acting as a resistance, then crossing below that 200-day moving average, things start to look interesting, because why is Rigetti getting any momentum at all? Why has it had this trend here? Well, there's three things we look at when we're looking for what is the movement saying about a stock. The three things are the market that they're in. So quantum computing, according to IBM, this market is expected to grow very fast. Part of that is because quantum computers have this inherent functionality that is more computing power for less energy. Now, what is one of the biggest conversations that come up around AI? The companies that are selling for the most amount of money are optimizing for usage of AI in some way, shape, or form. Like one of the recent the youngest billionaire in the world now is someone who just sold a software to Meta to deal with all of the data. It essentially categorizes all different branches of AI. Very simply put, it categorizes all of the categories that AI has for its reference data. So that speeds up the large language models so that basically they have faster AI. So there's the software component, again, billions of dollars, that's a piece. The other piece of speeding up computing power is the hardware component. Now, Rigetti is working on hardware, this quantum computing company is focused on that exact hardware. So they have partnerships MIT, NASA, they have Q Control, Quanta Computer, and then the software side integrating with software through AWS and Microsoft. And they haven't had any recent news come out, but the news last we had was about a couple $100 million of dollars in funding from Quanta Computer to give them some more runway. So when they recently passed that bill for the Quantum Reauthorization Act, it's the Quantum National Initiative Reauthorization Act. This bill just recently passed, and part of what this does is essentially have more funding, $2.7 billion in funding for more quantum computing companies that are in the research phases. Now, Rigetti is in the research phases, and we've seen them get a lot of grants, a lot of more funding, and it's reflecting in their financials. So this brings us to the second piece of our analysis. What we look for when identifying a good deal is the financials, the chart, and the news. From a news perspective, we know they've been really consolidating recently, but they've been basically getting these new contracts around more funding and continuing to develop their relationships with big tech companies. From a large influx of cash perspective, we saw their net income rise up 305% year over year, most likely due to more influxes of cash. But their net profit margins, while they were up in that financials, it doesn't tell the full story as their revenue was still down. So you can see their income statements look very volatile. However, the part of Rigetti that looks good is this increasing amount of assets while their liabilities have come down. And if we look at annually, their assets are at a total all-time high, meaning right now investors are investing the most amount of money. So from a financial perspective, why are they still getting growth? You have increased holdings from 243 active positions with only 89 decreased positions from the biggest companies in the institutional realm. So you got BlackRock investing more. And why is that important? Well, what we're looking for when validating the markets, when looking for value, is how much of an institutional interest is there from not just maybe the smaller companies or that they're potentially going to get bought out or things like that, but what about the big institutions that really got the big money? And that's BlackRock, that's Vanguard. You see them investing more. You got State Street as well as Goldman Sachs and Bank of America putting more money into Rigetti. So from the why is it a big deal? It's most likely because that just means their financials most likely will continue to do better. That's how it's appearing. Now, from a revenue perspective, we'd like to see their revenue increase. Their revenue on an annual basis, just over $10 million or 12 million, which is still very small. When they have a market cap of 3.7 billion, that type of market cap is, it's other companies would envy having this ability to be at $3.7 billion market cap when they're only making, revenue of about 10 to 15 million. It's just kind of, it's a big valuation for their current financials. But the reason that it's like that is because of what companies are looking for in the future. You just had Jensen recently change his tune, which I don't have access to the article, but you had Jensen essentially say NVIDIA CEO has really doubled down on quantum. They've added more quantum computing programs to NVIDIA's stack, and they plan to have more quantum computing focused departments as they expand into hopefully increasing the amount of computing power and the speed at which and also at the same time reducing the energy for the compute and working in tandem with the GPUs implementing these QPUs, the quantum processing units. So from the perspective of now why we're going to simply watch this level here. It's in its overall uptrend. It is selling down. We see it push below this EMA and this SMA. And one thing that you don't want to do is exactly what we look for are dips. Those are the types of opportunities we buy. When the RSI is way oversold like this, like it was back down here around 1095, that's like a good opportunity in its overall uptrend. We see that oversell down on the RSI back here, and then it continued to rally 12%. So RGTI stock does that quite often. It just did it on Friday as well. You can see it sold down and then rallied 9%. So it just sold down recently, and you start to see that RSI indicating it's down there below that 30 level, which is a buy, and the MACD is down there on the buy level as well. But there's no confirmation yet. So when we're looking for that reversal, why we wouldn't purchase it just yet on a short-term trade is we're looking for that reversal to break back above that EMA. So if we were to go on a shorter time frame, you're looking at this, you see the EMA, it's holding below that blue line. If we're going to potentially see this swing of 8% or even continuing the overall trend in this 30% swing up into that $14 range again, in order for something like that to happen, or what we would look for before entering a position like that, so we're seeing that break above the EMA. So I'd like to look for a break above that $11.85 range. Somewhere in here give us more confirmation that it is reversing. And while the overall direction has been up, just in the near term, you can see it crossing below that 200-day moving average, kind of just in the red, and you don't want to catch a falling knife. So we'll be watching. Most likely, we saw the red. We didn't buy this morning because overall market direction was down. We ended up getting to TSLL on a dip, so Tesla, which is what we'll be watching for the next day or so. But with Rigetti, there is RGTX. So we'll be watching at market open to see if we could trade. It's down 11% on RGTX. If it validates and continues this direction, we're looking at a really a 10 to 20% margin for profit. It doesn't have to be that full swing. We're just looking for maybe a shorter term swing up into this $12 range, about 7% here or 14% over on RGTX. And we'll wait for that confirmation, more of the reversal to take place, kind of similar to what happened here. Start to see it break above that EMA and make its move. And that was a 7% swing. You also got this move here while it was getting rejected, then it crossed above the EMA and the SMA and was able to make that move up to $13.50. So simply put, we're going to look for something similar to that and monitor it at market open tomorrow. If you guys ever want to watch me trade live at market open, you can see my entries and my exits inside of Stockmate. It's the second link in the description down below. Also there, we got a free t-shirt when you enroll, which I would love to send you anywhere that you're in the world. So thanks so much for watching, guys. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next video.